today is an exciting episode because it is episode 1 or part 1 in a 3-part series where Dawn and I will be discussing lots of different experiences that people go through when they are looking for or getting a neurodiversity or neurodivergent diagnosis. So in part 1 today, we'll be talking about it as if you yourself, so as an adult, are going for an assessment, what you need to think about, all of those things. Part 2 will be after the assessment. So kind of what do you do afterwards? What are the things you might want to follow up on, who you might want to tell, how you might want to tell. And then part 3 will be about if you are a parent and you're looking to get a diagnosis for your child or young person and all those things that entail. So hopefully it will be a really useful 3-part series, but today is all about you and what would be if you were deciding to go and get a diagnosis.
Yes, I'm very excited for this, Freya. It's going to be a good one. It's what a lot of people talk about.
It is indeed, yeah. No, it is. It's an important topic to cover, I think.
Yes, definitely. So should we start with our chaotic moments?
As always, we love our chaotic
So
moments.
we've got a passport themed one today, haven't we, Freya?
We've both got a passport themed one.
So my chaotic moment recently
Yep.
is I ordered passports. Well, I was in the middle of ordering passports and then I'd ordered my son's and I suddenly realised that, oh no, hang on a minute, we're changing our name by default, our surname where I'm double-barrelled. So I had to then change all of our names and order a new passport. So yeah, well done, Dawn. That was a complete waste of £96 or whatever it is. And yeah, never thought. But yeah, that's my chaotic moment. I don't even have a clarity one.
But now your passports are going to be clear with everybody's name on.
Yeah,
and
they're still not here yet.
But they're exactly how you're going to want them to be.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. So
I love that one.
Yeah.
So mine is similar about passports. So my husband and I were looking for our passports a few weeks ago, and we looked everywhere in our bedrooms. We looked in the drawers. We looked in like our office, like in our suitcases. Looked pretty much everywhere for them, and both of us beginning to feel a little bit unsettled and thinking, oh gosh, maybe we've lost them, but how have we lost both together? Where should we look? Where else could they be? We might have to go and get new ones. Really couldn't think what we've done with his passports. And then I can't remember if it was him or I, we said, I wonder if they are in our personal organizer. So we have a little folder that has like important things like bills and different bits and bobs and like that. And we looked in there, and both passports were in there in a little folder marked passports. So both of us were extremely smug, but the fact that we couldn't find them because they were away, I just think is hilarious. That kind of gives you a little bit of a glimpse into kind of what my everyday life is like.
Yeah.
That, every now and again, I want to be really like clear, full of clarity, and I will put those passports away. But actually, actually at the time of it, my whole body is going, we couldn't have possibly put them away.
I know. Were you proud of
really
organised Freya?
Oh, past organised Freya, killing it. Yeah. I mean, whether it was her or whether it was my husband, we're not 100% sure. But either way, the passports are safe. They are in where they should be.
Yeah, I love that. Well done, organiser.
Oh, well done indeed. Well done indeed. All right, so now on to today's amazing topic.
Part 1.
Part 1. So the first question that when we sat down to think about today's topic was, why might a person who's maybe as an adult gone through their teenage years, gone through kind of their early adulthood, why would they decide to seek a diagnosis? And I thought it'd be really nice to just think about what were some of the reasons you decided to have an assessment, and why did you think actually, what was that process for you?
Yeah, so it's a weird one really, because I wish I could go back and remember how I felt before my diagnosis. I just remember, I'm so sorry about that. I just remember, for me, it was more about self-awareness. Now, I'd had probably the last 5 or 10 years of friends, clients.
Yep.
Sometimes a client would come in and say, oh, you've got ADHD. And one client actually literally just said that to me the first time I'd ever met her. I mean, she's one of my really good friends now and I love her. But so many people had said these things to me and I kept thinking, do I, don't I? So for me, it was a self-awareness thing.
Yeah.
It was my mental health as well. I've always struggled with my mental health. And every time I've tried to fix my mental health.
Yeah.
It's never quite worked either. It's never
Yeah.
been that. It's never been you're doing too much, so I do less, and actually sometimes it make me feel more poorly.
Yeah.
It's just lots of things. So for me, it was answers.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously it's different for everybody, isn't it? But for me personally, I just felt like, well, everyone keeps telling me I am.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what's wrong with me, because that's how I felt at the time, because I did feel like there was something wrong with me. Yeah, until I met you, obviously. And but I'd say that's, for me, that was the big driver.
Yeah, that
to
real
get a diagnosis.
self-awareness to try to understand.
And it's always the last thing on the list as well. I tried everything.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think anybody ever gets a diagnosis because they just want a diagnosis. I think it's always the last on the list. You kind of try a lot of other things first.
Yeah.
Which shouldn't be that way.
No, it shouldn't. As somebody, Dawn, I know you're always been really proactive. And when you and I went through your assessment, you told me about all the times you tried different kinds of therapy, meditations, loads of different strategies, which is brilliant. That proactive approach is great. So was something about you also wanting to learn maybe new and different strategies?
Definitely. And also there's the voice in our head that shames ourselves. So for example, now if I'm anxious, and I do get really anxious, if I'm overwhelmed, maybe more overwhelmed than anxious, if I get overwhelmed in work, I've done a 12-hour shift and I've had 10-minute break in that whole, and I've seen a lot of different people, and it's just an intense day. I used to shame myself. Why can't you just do it? People work longer. There's nurses that do 24 hours. Come on. Whereas now I don't. I just go, oh, I'm overwhelmed because of my sensory, because of my brain, because the way my brain is wired. I just need to go and sit in the toilet for 10 minutes and do some deep breathing. And I do. Whereas before, I'd get in the cycle of shaming myself and beating, metaphorically beating myself up. And that stopped instantly once I obviously got the diagnosis with you.
Oh, that's really lovely to hear, actually. I think
so
that's
the strategies
really
work better. So they were there before, but they didn't quite click. So they work better now because I've given myself grace and kinder words. Yeah,
definitely. And actually what we know about some strategies is they've been created on research based on neurotypical people. So, some of those things like thought challenging, that's great in CBT, would work really wonderful for somebody who's neurotypical. For somebody who's neurodivergent, that strategy actually could be quite counterproductive. It could be difficult. So I think that's a really important thing, strategies. A lot of people, come to me when they're thinking about assessment, particularly for ADHD, is they begin to think about whether medication would be useful for them as well. I know that's not everybody's journey. So some people, it's more about, like you said, strategies, exploration, self-identity, self-awareness. But there are some people who talk to me about it and they say, actually, do you know what? I just would love to have, that ability to be able to focus on something. I'd love to be able to kind of be a little bit organized, and I would like that opportunity to see if I was, if I did have a diagnosis of ADHD, if medication could be helpful for me, and what could that changes bring to my life. So I think it's really important to think about, if you are somebody who's thinking about a diagnosis, I think there's a few questions to sort of ask yourself. And this is what I always say when people talk to me on the phone and they say, oh, Freya, do you think I should have an assessment? And the answer always I give is, if you feel that you can live your life without knowing, and if it's not going to change your life in any way, then don't have an assessment. If you think it's not going to make any difference to you because you're going to decide to self-identify, or whatever outcome is not going to impact you, then don't have an assessment. If, however, you are someone who you think, do you know what, this could actually be changing for me, this could allow me to look back on my years I've struggled with a lot more kindness, this could allow me to plan a better future, this could give me answers that I've been looking for, then those are the times then I would sort of suggest then go forward for an assessment. Are there any other questions, Dawn, you can think that someone could ask themselves if they were preparing for that, an assessment?
No, not really. I just agree with everything you say then. If you don't think it's going to better or change anything in your life, but then I can't imagine anybody coming to you that would feel like that anyway. I suppose people come for a diagnosis because they need answers, and sometimes they're desperate for answers. It's not that they need it. Like when I came to you, I was desperate for answers, and I know we had that great conversation on the phone, and if you just said, I'll do your assessment now, I would have done it. And I know maybe 3 or 4 weeks, I didn't have a long wait, but it made me feel, oh my gosh, yes, it felt right. And I couldn't wait to do it. Best thing ever.
Good. That's always nice to hear, Dawn. Always nice to hear. So if you've decided that you are going to go ahead with an assessment, there's a certain, what I sort of think about is what you're going to start to do in terms to prepare for that assessment. So I'm going to talk about a few practical things that I think would be helpful as an assessor, and Dawn's going to talk to you about some like emotional things that she thinks would be useful for somebody who's going in for an assessment. So practically, I think, as an assessor, go and talk to people who maybe knew you when you were younger, or it could be a close friend, it could be your parents, it could be a sibling. Maybe dig out your old school reports, have a little bit of a read of them. I know when I dug out my school reports to think about my own kind of needs and my own kind of neurodiversity, it was really interesting reading things like, Freya's a real chatterbox. Freya just needs to focus on what she's doing a little bit more, which again, I hadn't kind of maybe really thought about as much. Also talk to your partner, talk to, if you have a romantic partner, talk to them about the things that they see, because they might have a very different view of the things that you're good at, the things that you struggle with. Sometimes we can be really good at saying, oh, I'm really rubbish at all of these things. And it might take someone who loves you very much to say, yeah, but look at all the other things that you're really, really good at that, maybe I can't do. So I would say start to talk to people about, those sorts of things, start to kind of maybe do some research. Think about, maybe what would be useful in your place of work again. So, what are those things that you struggle with maybe? So just begin to kind of put those things, if you are a visual person, it might find really helpful to write those things down so you've got them all in one place. So when, the assessor asks you about those things, you've got them already. But I know not everybody is like that. And some people that would just be a really overwhelming task. So just begin to start thinking, about those memories. Maybe you can get out an old photo album, because you might look at one and go, oh my goodness, I remember we went to this restaurant and this person put gravy on my sausages and I cried and had a massive meltdown. True story from my childhood.
Sounds like Freya's story.
It sounds like a Freya story. So just have a little bit of a think about those things practically. And I think that'll be a really helpful way. Emotionally, Dawn, what do you think someone could do to prepare themselves for an assessment?
Well, as much as I was really excited and desperate to have the assessment just to see what was going on, I was really scared as well. I was really nervous. That only lasted until you turned up, and then that melted away, so it was fine. But yeah, I was really anxious about having it done. The biggest thing, Freya, actually, was I was extremely nervous in case you said, no, Dawn,
okay,
you do not have any neurodiversities whatsoever, and you're just mental. That was like this awful fear. And a couple of people I've spoken to have had this little voice in their head that, it's just lying there. Yeah, because I think maybe when someone in their 40s is getting diagnosed, they've lived a life where neurodiversity didn't exist. We know it did, but it wasn't talked about and we didn't know about.
Especially in women and girls, very different understanding of how maybe those, women and girls can present.
Yeah, definitely. And so the names that you were called when you were younger, or the negative thoughts that you would have about yourself, would creep in, thinking maybe I'm not neurodiverse, maybe I am just crazy or lazy, or I need to concentrate, or I need to work harder, or so that was weirdly a big worry in case you said no.
That is a really big thing. So we are going to talk a little bit more about what to look for in an assessor. But I think just in response to that question, so something that we do at my company when we assess somebody and we talk to them about their report is we actually say, regardless of whether you get a neurodivergent assessment with us or not, your report will be the same length, standard and quality, regardless of what the conclusion is, because you're coming to us for an assessment because you think something's not quite right, or you want to learn more about yourself, exactly like you were saying. So we always create a personal profile for somebody that has, areas of strengths and areas of need. So whether you get a diagnosis of autism, or maybe actually we formulated that because of the experience that you had, you were an extremely anxious person, or, whatever we decided was actually the diagnostic conclusion and formulation, we would then still create you that personal, profile, because you still have those, you still need those answers, you still need to understand why you're struggling in a certain way. And then we'd also give you the same quality of recommendations as well. So what can you do to make your life better? They might be slightly different recommendations that we might be giving an autistic person, but again, we'd still be thinking about what those bespoke recommendations were. Because actually people don't seek an assessment because everything's wonderful and fine and You know, I don't need this to change me at all. They seek an assessment, like you were saying,
Yeah.
to understand themselves more.
Yeah.
And whilst I can't ever guarantee somebody a diagnosis, I can guarantee them a really thorough, comprehensive assessment.
Yeah.
And by the end of that, they will understand themselves better.
And I know that you can guarantee that that person will feel better from coming to you.
Yeah.
I could
so.
guarantee
I
that.
hope
Yes,
so. I
could
really
guarantee
hope
that.
so.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Because if they're coming to you to learn about themselves, they're going to learn regardless of the outcome.
Yeah.
They're going to have a full report and profile. Yeah. I love that. I love that.
So, Dawn, obviously, there are lots of different assessors out there.
Yeah.
You can wait for an NHS appointment. So, if you decide to go down the NHS route, what I always say to people is go and talk to your GP. Your GP will then refer you to the appropriate service, and then I would always double check what that waiting list is like. Around the UK, around the world, I'm sure, you know, if we're thinking about UK based at the moment, waiting lists really vary. In some places they're really short, and some places they're really long. So always check with your, you know, when you go to your NHS provider, how long that waiting list is, so you can begin to, you know, understand what. Also, almost like temper those expectations for yourself. So if you know you have to wait 2 years, that's kind of okay, and you're happy to wait those 2 years. If, however, you want to go down the private route and you want to have a private assessor, then I think there's a few different things that you do need to consider. And again, I'm going to talk about the practical things that you need to talk about. And I'd like Dawn to talk about the more emotional, affirmative things that you'd look for in an assessor. So practically, you need to find an assessor that is ideally a multidisciplinary team. So I would always shy away from somebody who was practicing on their own. So somebody who wasn't part of a team. Just because actually you don't want a single person diagnosing you. You would rather have a team of varying professionals. So things like your speech and language therapists who can think about communication, occupational therapists who can think about sensory needs, psychologists like myself who can think about, you know, incorporating an understanding of mental health. You might also have, you know, there's a range of people who can be involved in assessments now. So I would always say look for a multidisciplinary team. I would always say as well, look for what diagnostic criteria they use. So there are two main forms of diagnostic criteria. We have the ICD-11 and the DSM-5. One is more international, one is more sort of American. In the UK, generally, we use the more American one, so the DSM-5. And that has really specific characteristics of what people meet for maybe autism or ADHD. I personally and my team, we don't diagnose like a tick box, so you don't have to kind of score 6 out of 7 in order to get a diagnosis. It's much more holistic than that. But I would talk to somebody about, you know, what diagnostic tools they're using as well. So are they using any formalized tools? So we use an ADHD tool called Adiva, which I think is an amazing name for an assessment.
Yeah.
And we use other tools. There's lots out there. There's a lovely assessment called the CACU, which is all about masking. So talk to your assessor about what assessments they use. And then finally, I would check whether that assessment meets NICE guidance. So NICE guidance, again, is the National Institute of Health and Care Excellence. And just checking that, you know, those assessors, the assessment that you receive meets what the expectations are in NICE guidance. So that allows you to feel really safe, secure, that the assessment you're having is extremely robust, it's comprehensive, and it's following the same structure as if you had gone through the NHS. So for me, those are some practical questions to ask and kind of go through. I'm going to hand over to Dawn, who's going to talk to you more about the more emotional, affirmative things to think about when you're looking for an assessor.
Yes. So I was recommended to you, Freya, because where on earth did you start when you're looking for
the minefield out there?
Assessor. Obviously, I'd gone to my GP, and there was a 2 to 4 year wait, which, you know, is no one's fault. I thought I could wait that long, but I couldn't. So I was recommended.
It's always nice to hear that.
Yeah, one of my clients. She hadn't actually even been to you, but she'd heard really good things about you. I think maybe her friend had used you for her child. So anyway, I found you guys, and then sent an email, and then we spoke on the phone, and I really liked that because I remember your words to me, and I think I got upset on the phone with you, didn't I? I was like, I might just be something wrong with me. I remember you saying, Dawn, you are definitely neurodiverse, so I would recommend. And I like that because when you spending a lot of money.
Yeah, it's not cheap, unfortunately. You know, I would love to be able to give everyone free assessments.
No, I know you would, but that's not practical either, though, is it? You know, like people, you know, need.
We have some amazing clinicians who do some amazing things. Yeah.
And what I loved is that you've made me feel like it, like if I thought that you weren't done, I'd tell you now. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's how you made me feel. So yeah, I really liked that. But yeah, I was really nervous before, but then it was just the best thing ever. Yeah, and then I saw somebody first, didn't I? And that was a couple of hours, wasn't it?
Yeah, so yeah, you did developmental history.
Yes, that's the word.
There you go.
No, I can't say that word.
One of our clinicians at the time, was it?
Yes.
Erin?
Yeah, Erin. Yeah.
One of our, well, I was going to say all our clinicians.
I didn't know whether I should say
all of our clinicians are amazing.
No, they are, yeah. Erin, she was so lovely. And it is emotional, I'm not going to lie. There was things that, you know, were difficult to talk about.
Yeah.
But she was just lovely. She was amazing. And then obviously then the second part was with you.
It was.
Yeah.
Only moments or only steps away from where we are now sitting.
I know, yeah. And little did we know that we lived so close to each other as well.
Yeah. Well, I knew.
Yeah.
We lived so close
together.
Yeah,
you knew.
Dawn didn't know where I lived at that time, but I knew. I knew where I lived, and I knew where Dawn lived.
I know where you live now. But yes, and then obviously S4C, the rest is history, isn't it? You can watch it on S4C.
You can. And I think just quickly, the other thing for me, I was just thinking as you were talking about those experiences, obviously that makes me feel so proud that, you know, that was your experience. And, and I feel so grateful that you can share that with our, you know, with our listeners. But also just another quick question, or another quick thing that came into my head, a question to ask. And for me, this is really important. It might not be as important to you as a listener, but for me, it's really important that the assessment that you have is neurodiversity affirming. So by that, I mean, you are not having an assessment where somebody will sit down and just list all the things that you're wrong, you're not good at, or you're wrong, or you're rubbish at. So historically, and I've actually been guilty of this when I did assessments 20 years ago, you know, in the NHS, I would have been looking for deficits, and I would have written reports that said, so-and-so has a deficit in their social and emotional recognition. They have poor eye contact. They have limited gestures. And that was just how I was taught to do it. And that was very much of its time. But as I have grown as a practitioner, as I have spoken and spent time with more wonderful neurodivergent people like Dawn, and the more I have kind of understood my own neurodiversity, and the more I've kind of just really thought about it from the new neurodiversity paradigm perspective, is actually we can do really comprehensive assessments that just aren't deficit led. So we don't always have to just say, made limited eye contact. We might say, Dawn prefers not to make eye contact. Dawn prefers to look away. Dawn's facial expressions are more neutral. Yeah, rather than saying, eye contact was poor. So I think we can shift. So I would always look, and I would always advocate for somebody to do an affirming assessment, that when you read it, you recognize the challenges that you have, yes, and you recognize the barriers that you face. We don't want to minimize those. But more importantly, you see yourself in that assessment, and you see all the wonderful things that you are and you bring, and the unique perspective that your neurodivergence brings to the world. So yeah, I'd always check for affirming as well. And that's something that's really important to me.
No, I know. And I've never met a neurodivergent person that is not amazing.
Yeah.
I really haven't. And the different way of thinking, this is really generalizing of me, but most entrepreneurs, most women juggle in 3, 4, 5 businesses. I've not met one yet that's not neurotypical, sorry. And it's beautiful, it's amazing. So it's not a bad thing, like you say. It's not a less than.
No,
it's just a difference.
Yeah.
And actually, sometimes they've got more to bring to the table than a neurotypical person.
Yeah, definitely.
When it comes to different way of thinking and thinking outside the box.
Yeah. No, I think so. I think it's that, you can have a group of people in a room and they all might decide to be thinking one way, and you have that neurodivergent person who will say, what about this way? That might be a weird way, or might be, something different, or what somebody else has thought about. and often that could be really useful. So for me, I love the idea of like it takes a village.
Yeah.
So we do need neurotypical people. They bring some absolute beautiful joy, social bonding, all of that wonderful stuff to the world. And and I think the world is richer because we have all these different neurotypes that can contribute different things. So I would definitely think about, if you are looking for an assessment, hopefully some of the things that Dawn and I have spoken about today will give you some sort of food for thought to think about, what to ask yourself if you're going through that process, what's to ask a potential assessor. If you would like to have an assessment with me and people from my team, this isn't a sponsored thing, but it is about me. So my company is called FSW Psychology, and we will put a link to it in the show notes. If you just want to chat with me as well, we also do free consultations.
Yeah. And I can highly recommend, as I'm sure the world already knows, because I tell at least 1 million people a day.
I know Dawn needs to work on commission. All the time. Hi, I've been recommended to you by Dawn. I was like, okay, yeah, I know. Oh, Dawn, who's she?
Yeah. I'm only sending them your way if I think, oh yes, you definitely,
I was going to say,
this.
Dawn could be one of our assessors actually, with all your knowledge and skills. Now.
Oh, I don't know about that.
So if you would like to know what happens next, so you've had your assessment, you've got your diagnosis, you're starting to read your wonderful affirming report all about you, but then you've got the whole rest of your life ahead of you. And what I always say to people when I do their feedback is, this isn't the end. This isn't the end of the journey. This is the beginning of the journey.
Yeah.
So listen or join in to part 2, where Dawn and I will be telling you all things post-diagnosis.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.